Welcome to the Rundown Podcast, hosted by Don Costanti, a nationally recognized event presentation expert with over 30 years of experience and author of Beyond the Scoreboard. This podcast takes you behind the scenes with industry leaders to unpack the insights, strategies, and creative tactics that drive unforgettable live experiences. Let's get started.
Event presentation is one of the most visible and influential touchpoints in collegiate athletics. It's where atmosphere, tradition, and entertainment come together to shape how fans experience a program and how sponsors, student athletes, and recruits connect with it. Behind every successful game day environment are the people, processes, and strategies that bring those moments to life. My guest today is Don Scott, Vice President of Entertainment and Marketing for Clemson Athletic Ventures. With more than 2 decades of experience in collegiate athletics, including leadership positions at Notre Dame, Elon, Samford, and UAB, Don has built a reputation for elevating fan experience, marketing, and engagement strategies. At Clemson, he leads the department's efforts to enhance the game day experience across all sports. In this episode, we discuss Don's career journey, his philosophy on event presentation, how Clemson approaches staffing, communication, and the creative process, and the lessons he's learned throughout his career that athletic departments can apply to elevate their own event presentation efforts. I'm ready to get started. Let's meet Don Scott. Hi, Don. Welcome to the Rundown.
Well, Don, good to see you. I appreciate you having me on. I just want to say for everyone out there listening, your book and your podcast is great for everyone up and down our industry, whether you're just getting in or whether you're sort of a seasoned old vet like myself. So being on with you is really cool.
I appreciate that very much. Now, before we dive deep into what Clemson does with event presentation and your strategy, let's start first with your journey. So take us through your career journey that ultimately led you to your current role as Vice President of Entertainment and Marketing at Clemson Athletic Ventures.
Yeah, as a kid, obviously I was playing every sport. I was an only child, so I got outside all I could, team sports, tennis, golf, you name it. If you played it, I wanted to do it, and grew up in that golden era of ESPN in the 80s. So, I wanted to be a professional athlete. And like 99% of us realized, hey, that wasn't going to happen. So how do I channel that passion into doing something like this? I didn't really know about event presentation, but I knew about sports information, getting all the media guides when I was little and growing up. So I knew that there was a path forward in that. And after I graduated college, I was able to go to New York City and work in media sales, which kind of bridges the gap right there. I was with an offshoot of ESPN and Fox Sports, doing that on the sponsorship side, and then moved to Birmingham, Alabama. And that was really my first taste of getting into the actual event presentation world. Still on the sponsorship side, but working hand in hand with the marketing team and event presentation. As you know, and we'll talk about this, in the college world, marketing sort of that catch-all umbrella for both consumer marketing and event presentation.
Yeah.
So I was working with that team at UAB very closely and really wanted to get onto that side, to the administration side. And so I was able to go across the mountain in Birmingham to Clemson University and was running their entertainment, their marketing, their ticketing team, and then went back home and kind of got out and went back to my New York City days, moved back home to North Carolina and worked for an ad agency that did everything for Pinehurst. So really into the golf world.
Wow.
And then my hometown team, the Elon University Phoenix, called me opening up a brand new $50 million convocation center, basketball and volleyball arena, and needed someone to sort of shepherd that through from a ticket sales and an event presentation side. So I was able to go back home, and that was an amazing opportunity there. And then, when you're 30 seconds from your mom and dad, you're 30 minutes from your in-laws, your 2 young boys, they're loving it. Life's pretty good, so I wasn't really looking to move. Then I got a call from a friend of a friend at Notre Dame, and she was looking for someone as Notre Dame sort of split consumer marketing and fan experience to head up the fan experience team. And you got to chase that ground ball, run that ground ball out. It's Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be in that position. What I forgot to say was that I also got my master's degree in athletic leadership at Clemson. And so Clemson was always in the back of our minds as it's in the Carolinas, it's home. And so after 2 years at Notre Dame, the job at Clemson opened up and we really wanted to get back home. And so applied for it, threw my hat in the ring, and was fortunate enough once again to get that job. And we're finishing up our second year here at Clemson. And it's funny enough, after renting, my wife and I and our boys were actually buying a house next week. So by the time everyone hears this, we will be about 5 or 6 days in our new house at Clemson.
Wow.
So that's sort of my career journey.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, looking back, was there one experience or opportunity that really had the greatest impact on you on how you think about event presentation today?
I think when it goes back to everything that I've done in my career, whether it's been media, event presentation, or the golf world, all three of them, they center around experiences that people remember.
Yeah.
So if you just put yourself in that mindset of creating those experiences that people remember, then everything that surrounds it is going to work, whether it's the lights going out, the music, the traditions, the anticipation, and those moments that can make 80,000 people feel connected at the same time. That's going to make it work. So, but probably that first time where I said, oh yeah, like this is it. I was at UAB and I was in the sports sponsorship side. In men's basketball, we played #1 Memphis when John Calipari had it rocking and rolling. Derrick Rose was a freshman.
Oh, yeah.
And the place was packed out. I mean, it was standing room only. The fire marshal got involved. Not in a bad way, but just like, hey, we got to stop letting them in.
Right.
We had 8,000 gold T-shirts on every seat. It's the first time UAB came out in gold uniforms.
Nice.
10 or 15 years. National television. Game went down to the wire. It was loud. It was the loudest I had ever heard a building. And I grew up, going to games on Tobacco Road. Unfortunately, we didn't win. Derrick Rose, or actually Chris Douglas Roberts, he made a shot at the buzzer, but that was where I was like, yeah, this is for me. I got to get out of the sponsorship world and I want to get into the event presentation.
Oh, wow.
But I think it always goes back to I always remember that, even in a loss. So if you create those experiences that people remember, you're going to go places in our career and in our profession. So that's certainly one of my key tenets and that thing that I remember.
Fantastic. Now, Don, what is your personal event presentation philosophy? And I say personal because I know I've been in roles where I've had leadership direct a certain philosophy that necessarily wasn't my take or how I would do it, but I had to implement it. So I'm asking for your personal take on event presentation. What's your philosophy?
Yeah, so I go back to hit 3 E's. And what I say by that, entertain, engage, and emote. So if you can entertain the crowd, if you can engage with the crowd, and if you can stir emotion with the crowd, you've made it. That's the philosophy, is creating those emotional moments, those engaging moments, and those entertaining moments.
Love that.
Because anybody can play a video or launch a T-shirt.
Yep.
But what fans remember is how you made them feel. So when you can enhance the game, when you can celebrate your brand, and you can create those moments that people talk about afterwards, everyone's going to keep coming back. Your coaches are going to be happy, your administrators, your student athletes, and then your team. So that would be my personal presentation philosophy.
I love that. Now, when you left Notre Dame and you arrived at Clemson, what opportunities did you see to further enhance the fan experience, atmosphere, and the overall game presentation?
Yeah, I was lucky because, I mentioned I went to graduate school at Clemson. And growing up in the ACC world, I knew Clemson.
Yeah.
So I knew about a lot of the traditions. Certainly not all of them because I wasn't boots on ground. But I'm smart enough to know, hey, we probably should always run down the hill at football.
Right.
We've been doing it since the day we opened our football stadium. So it's really, I noticed that we had these just amazing, incredible assets from our traditions to our student athletes to our coaches. Coach Sweeney.
Oh, yeah.
2 national championships, all the college football playoffs, our fan base, our venues, the atmosphere. We didn't need to create anything. It was really, it's how do we amplify the tradition in a modern era and still make them traditional and uniquely Clemson. And I think one of the things I always go back to as well is like, hey, traditions are awesome, but traditional thinking is not. So how do we amplify those traditions? Spend a lot of time observing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a great staff here. I'm really lucky. You want to watch fans, how they enter the stadium, how do they take different seating areas, talk to people, because it's hard. Like what a student wants is probably different than what a donor wants, probably different than maybe what a staff member wants. But at the end of the day, we're all Clemson. And when you cut us open, we all bleed orange and purple. So it was really going back to, how do we amplify these traditions? Or how do we create new ones in sports that maybe don't have them? Our gymnastics program is just coming off year 3. Lacrosse, year 4, softball, year 6. These are very young sports that we are very good at.
Right.
College super regionals, the NCAA tournament, ACC champions, and gymnastics. All 3 sports came right out of the gate. The only tradition they had was, that tiger paw and orange and purple. So it was being able to help create those as well. And then how do we take our Clemson traditions and bring them into those programs?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to help with that's been pretty neat as well.
So I want to shift gears now and talk about the collegiate organizational model. And what I mean by that, in college athletics, event presentation is traditionally under the director of marketing. You mentioned that a little bit ago. This person's responsible for sponsorship activation, ticket sale initiatives, fan engagement, among other external functions. Meanwhile, when you look at the professional sports models, they've built a dedicated event presentation department with specialized personnel who are focused solely on the fan experience. My question, Don, is do you think collegiate athletics needs to rethink its current model?
So the short answer is yes. The long answer is we've already started, and certainly, I mentioned Notre Dame. We're doing it here at Clemson. I know others have done it.
I know Auburn's doing it.
Auburn as well. But you're right. You got to think about it this way too, Don. Not only is it splitting it up, but we have more than one sport.
Yep.
We're not the NBA where you just have 41 home games. We've got 21 other sports, and those student athletes, those coaches, they put in the same amount of effort that our football team does. So they've earned the right. They deserve the same from us in the event presentation world, in the consumer marketing world. And just with the way we're staffed, just from a person level and having marketing being that umbrella, it was working, but it could have been much more effective and efficient. And so that's what we've done here at Clemson. We brought in, with Clemson Ventures and Michael Drake, our CEO. We brought in a chief marketing officer who's 2 months under his belt.
Wow.
To really help us refine that. He comes from the consumer packaged world and working at Facebook and Instagram for Meta. So he's really in charge of our fan lifetime cycle, getting new fans, getting them into the cycle. And then he and I are working together on that consumer marketing side of, hey, not only a ticket strategy, but just fans.
Yeah.
Because we need new fans coming in. Certainly, we want to get them as young as possible so they build that affinity up. We'd love them to come be students here at Clemson. But if not, we'd love for them to watch our games. That's a huge new revenue component for us. The way that the ACC has restructured their television deal is that some of the money is based off of viewership.
Yep.
So even if you live in Wyoming, you're not able to come to, say, a lacrosse game, a football game, a men's basketball game, you still can turn on ESPN, ABC, the ACC network, watch our games, and then that's helping us. And so we know that. Now the inverse of that, it's incumbent on us on the entertainment side that we've split it. And I tell my team on that side, I just want you thinking butts and seats and the experience. So get people to use their tickets and then show them the best time so that no matter what happens on the court or on the field, they can't wait to come back, and they're leaving saying, man, I wonder what Clemson will do next.
Yeah.
So we're thinking in that event presentation world, going back to those 3 E's. I want to entertain, I want to engage, and I want to create emotion.
I love that. And I love that at Clemson, you have Clemson Ventures that has specialized personnel to handle specific areas. And that's so important because you mentioned it just right there. Your 3 E's, entertain, engage, and create emotion. Well, you can't do that if you don't have the bandwidth, specifically when you have 21 sports like you do at Clemson. By having one person responsible for everything, marketing, digital production, social media, game operations, sponsorship, the overall event presentation, you put limits on what an organization's ability is to deliver.
Yeah.
Because there's just not the bandwidth to do it. So I'll give you an example. I have a client in collegiate athletics. a major university, that brought me in to evaluate their event presentation. And they had one individual designated to the role for marketing, digital production, creating the graphics, the animations, the staffing assignments, the game operations, the script writing, the promotion development, the ideation, the sponsor fulfillment, the CRM for marketing, the advertising, among other external responsibilities. One individual. They're looking for somebody to bring in to help, an assistant director, but really one individual. And what happens is this person is so overwhelmed, so overworked. They're talented. Sure, they have the ability to do every area, but they're limited in their bandwidth of being able to do more and to elevate each of those areas because they're looking to just maintain status quo.
Yeah.
When I talked to the individual and I said, what makes for a good game day? He basically just said, as long as I can get through all the elements without a mistake, I consider that a good day. And yes, you want to have no mistakes, but the mindset is we can't do more, we can't innovate, we can't go above and beyond to create that experience. It's more about let's just maintain status quo.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hope nothing falls through the cracks. And as long as that happens, it's been a great day. That's a tough way to go about it.
It really is. I thought one of the things I found interesting about your book is that I've always been somewhat envious of the pros just because I was talking to the Bulls and their staff. They're like, Billy doesn't know who the hell I am, Coach Donovan. But then reading your book, it can still be team driven.
Yeah.
Young lady that used to work at Clemson, she's with the Washington Wizards now on the NBA on the event presentation side. She's like, oh my God, every intro video we got to send to the team. No, he's in it too much. He's not in it enough. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize that.
It's such a challenge for sure. So Don, you mentioned that you don't follow the traditional organizational model. So can you walk us through your structure, the key roles that are involved, and how those responsibilities are divided across the team?
Yeah, so just all under Clemson Ventures, we've got certainly our partnership sales team.
Yep.
And they're in-house and they do an amazing job. Clemson Ventures really is set up more of a professional model because we've got our broadcasting team and they help us both from the linear and the digital side in the pro sports model, more of the regional sports network, but then also our in-venue shows, our Paul Vision shows. I work hand in hand with them and they're phenomenal, led by Rick Bagby, who's a SVG Hall of Famer and longtime Clemson employee. And he and his team are just amazing and really bring to life our ideas when we need to put it up on the video board. I mentioned that consumer marketing and digital and social team, and there's 3 guys there that have done an amazing job. Got just these specialists in our data team, our ticket strategy team, and then my team with the fan experience. So we've got 3 graduate assistants and then 2 full-time people, and we split up our 21 sports. Certainly football, everyone's working because it truly takes a village to put a football game on. But we've got those specialists that are focused on game presentation, creative content, digital engagement, our analytics, but we work towards a shared objective. They have their defined responsibilities, and our success comes from that alignment rather than ownership and territorialism.
Let's shift gears into communication and alignment. One thing people often underestimate is just how much communication and coordination it takes to produce a successful game day experience. So Don, walk us through Clemson's planning process and how the various groups involved stay aligned throughout the season.
Communication matters.
Absolutely.
Our process starts months before the season begins. I'll just take football for an example. You've got your spring game in March, but the schedule comes out in January. So we're always thinking, hey, what do we think our themes are going to be for the year? You've got homecoming, you've got senior day. Are you going to do a stripe out? When are we going to put Military Appreciation Day on the calendar? Because that is a tradition at Clemson, other than the 3 military academies, that is unlike any other, to borrow our friends from the Masters. We do it better than anyone else. I mean, it starts in January. And then really after the spring game, it cranks up because now everyone's able to focus on the upcoming football season. And then Memorial Day, your kick times come out. So now you've got your first 3 weeks. So if you've got a night game, that looks different from a pyro or an LED wristband or a drone show.
Right.
We're not like the NFL where we know our games are going to kick 1, 4, or Thursday or Sunday or Monday nights. So we've got to make these plans, but we've got to be able to pivot quickly, knowing that we only get our kick times 12 to 6 days out. So you've got to make the plans early so that you're able to pivot and adapt depending on how the season goes, what's going on. But we established the goals, the themes, the priorities, those major moments. I mean, like I said, we start late January when the schedule comes out.
Sorry to interrupt you, Don, but is there a special document that kind of details that inventory? And is there a gatekeeper for that?
There is. We've got about 5 of them. So the biggest one, I would say, is our game matrix. And I'm actually looking at it right now for football. So we've got it laid out. Columns are our 7 home games, and then the rows go date, kicker, and I'll tell you what the kicker is in a minute, time, theme, TV, presenting sponsor, color guard, any special pregame activities, flyover, honorary captains, the eye dotter. We have someone come and dot the I in script tigers that our band does. Anything special we're doing for the students, pyro, which band performance. Our band does 4 performances a year. So each performance is done twice, once to the north, once to the south, and then our special military appreciation day. What's going on at halftime? Do we have our Hall of Fame game? Homecoming, Dark Valley, Senior Day. Those are all different. Is there anything that our president's office wants us to do special? Our IPTE donor of the game, which is our booster organization and our philanthropic arm, and then hero of the game that we have. And then I will layer those in. Kicker is always sort of those surprise and delight moments.
Yeah.
Are we doing a drone show? Are we doing special amplified pyro? Are we going to do, an LED wristband show? Any of those things. So we've got them all laid out so that we're not stacked. We're not on top of each other.
Love that.
And then we work with our partnership team on all of our sellable assets. So what they're able to do from a video board perspective, on field, if there's any smile and waves, special things that we've got to do in that aspect. And then actually have the game rundown where, as you know, you're looking at all of our timeouts and how are we scheduling those and then what's their cadence. So we always have a hero moment in the timeout.
Mm-hmm.
We try to stay away from PA announcements, but we will have some video board features that have to have a PA announcement, but just a true PA announcement. We recognize that it's white noise. And so those are really our 3 big documents. Gatekeeper sounds so bad, but certainly I'm in charge of those when it comes to football. Now, when it comes to men's soccer and women's soccer, it's the people that are running point for us on those as well.
Now, are these documents living on a shared network as a read-only?
We do.
Yeah,
we do. We've got them in our shared drive. Because, transparency and communication are the key for us to have the great experiences that we have.
Absolutely.
So they're on our shared drive, and then people can come in and look at that. And then we get into our weekly cadence of meetings. You've got your operational meetings, and then you have your game meetings.
Just curious, when you talk about football, let's take football for the example. When are you meeting for that operational meeting?
So I'll walk you through our weekly cadence when it comes to football.
Okay, great.
So Mondays is just a huge meeting day.
Yep.
We're looking back and then we're looking forward. So we'll have our sales team meetings. We'll have our revenue strategy and insights team meetings, our operations meetings where it's not even just football. I mean, we're going over the whole week because you're going to have volleyball. You're going to have men's and women's soccer.
Oh, absolutely.
If you have field hockey, those are the things that colleges are always putting on throughout the course of the year, not just football. We talked about not just that one sport that you're living in the professional world. Then on Tuesdays, I'll write the script. And then Wednesday morning, we have a massive operations meeting. I mean, it goes everything from parking to concessions to broadcast to us and fan experience. There'll probably be 200 people at that meeting. And then we'll go into our video board production meeting with our producer, our director, our technical director, and our head of cameras, cheer, dance, and band as well. We'll go over the script. We'll go over the run of show. And then from a strategy standpoint, Wednesday at lunch, I'm pretty much done from strategy. And now everyone's taking it over and going into execution mode Wednesday afternoon and Thursday during the day. And then I'll get together with a couple people Thursday night If it is a night game, we certainly have to do this meeting during the night because we're going through our lights and any sort of pyro tests that we need to be due. But we'll go ahead and get our video board elements up there, see what's working, see if that timing fits. If it doesn't, if we need to move something from, say, third quarter, second timeout to second quarter, first timeout. Just because in the flow of the game, we think it's going to work better. And really, because in the second half, that's winning time, especially the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
We try to get all of our major sponsored elements out of the way so that we can do what we need to do in the fourth quarter to help the crowd get involved. And just maybe that gets the team ready to rock and roll and is that 12th man for us to win.
I love that. That just is an example why you do such a great job. That sort of meticulous planning and thought out process goes a long way to the finished product, as you know. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about the creative process for a moment. Many departments are constantly looking for new ideas, but the challenge is turning ideas into execution. So what does Clemson's creative process look like, and how do concepts ultimately make it into the game day experience?
So I got a great friend of mine. He's at the University of Alabama now. We were together at Elon. His name's Mike Ward. It was on the whiteboard in his office. Best idea wins. If I think like the ideas can only come from me, we are going to fail. So I don't care where they come from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Our group chat of our team is so much fun. 8 to 5, we're getting work done in there. But 6 o'clock to midnight, we're watching other games. We're watching social media. Hey, did you see this? Oh, man, how cool would this be? And then we get into our brainstorm meetings. That best idea wins. But we got to evaluate the ideas through these 3 lenses. Does it work within our brand? So can we make this uniquely Clemson? Does it improve the fan experience? And can we execute it at a high level?
Love that.
If the answer is yes to all 3, we're going to do it. And look, it might not work, but we're going to do it because we've got a culture of creativity where at Clemson that it's okay if we fail. We're going to try things. They're not all going to work. We're going to use the learnings to make it better. And then we go on. And hey, if it doesn't work at football, we might see it at men's soccer.
Sure.
Or that's going to work at softball. Or what if we just tweaked it a little bit and then it really works? I think the important thing is ideas can come from anywhere. The challenge really isn't generating ideas. It's how do they support the larger objective?
Absolutely. So when you're getting into the creative mode, who's involved in that process, though? Is it just the experienced team? I know ideas come from anybody, but when you're actually going through your brainstorming session, who's involved in that and who's leading that conversation?
Yeah, so certainly on the entertainment side, that's our team. We've got a weekly Wednesday. We meet twice a week as a team.
Okay.
We meet Monday morning, just truly operations. So I can look at Sammy and be like, hey, Sammy, what's going on with volleyball this week? Where do you feel confident? Where do you not feel confident? How can we help each other fill in the gaps? So everyone knows what's going on. And then Wednesday, we have just a brainstorming of like, hey, I saw this, we want to do that. Of course, it doesn't just have to be Wednesday. We'll add it to the agenda because it's a running doc. And like I said, you've also got to do your day job. We've got to do the games for, our 21 sports.
Yeah.
But the idea is we've got an amazing creative team as well, both from a brand side, a graphic side, and then a video side. They've got to support our teams, from recruiting and from the day-to-day team aspect, and then also how they work with us from a creative standpoint and a sales side. I mentioned our broadcasting team. Obviously, they're in our control room with our graphics and our replay decks and our switchers. They are helping out. They do an amazing job. And then our custom content team, which is really right now focused on a lot of name, image, and likeness and sponsored material.
Sure.
But they also help us out as well.
Yeah.
Everyone really comes together. I think it always goes back to that culture of best idea wins. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
I agree.
If it's going to make Clemson better, we're going to find a way to get it in our show.
I love that. When you think about Clemson's approach to event presentation and fan experience, what's one practice or process that you believe has had the greatest impact on the game day experience?
Man, that's a great question. I would say if you make everyone feel like they're part of the show, then you're going to be able to walk out that day and be like, yeah, that was a win. And when I say everyone should feel part of the show, I mean internally.
Yep.
So like sort of a wheel and spoke model of the mascot, the band, the cheerleaders, the dance team, video boards, music, lighting, our traditions, like they don't compete with one another.
They're all in sync.
They support the same narrative
Yep.
that goes back into the middle of the wheel. And because the fan doesn't see the separate departments, Don, they know that. When you're show calling for the Spurs, they don't know who's calling out the Coyote.
Right.
They just see it as the Spurs.
Right.
Now, it's a challenge to find that right balance, but when you're able to bring everyone involved internally and externally, that's where you win.
Your process is bringing everybody into a partnership, being synced together to create an experience that elevates the game day experience, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the best example is pregame because you lived it with the Coyotes, or excuse me, with the Spurs.
Yeah.
But I mean, go back to pregame, go back to team introductions. When everything comes together, you build towards that single emotional crescendo of the intro video, special effects, lighting, crowd prompts, how you introduce the mascot, then how you introduce the team, going to tip off. That is the best example of everyone comes together, the internal and the external. You build towards that single emotional moment and you go from there.
One of the unique challenges in college athletics is that you're creating an experience for students, alumni, donors, you mentioned recruits, families, casual fans, all at the same time. So how do you design an experience that resonates with all of those groups without trying to be everything to everyone?
Yeah, another great question. I kind of look at it, you can't build an experience for everyone at every moment. And I guess what I mean by that is, students want energy. The alumni want tradition. Families want accessibility. Recruits want to envision themselves playing there. Donors want to feel valued. But at the end of the day, everyone is Clemson. If you build an experience where everyone has moments that are meaningful to them, that's how you design for the multiple audiences. So there's a lot of times where, you can't serve every audience simultaneously, but you get those moments in the game where, okay, hey, this is for our alums. I mean, remember a world before cell phones when it was still newspapers led. This is for our students where music and phones lead. And this is for our recruits, which is kind of the same, but it's a little different. You want to envision them being here. So is it a moment in pregame where I've worked with our football creative team just this year? We've got something like 55 players in the NFL since Coach Sweeney took over.
Wow.
So we're highlighting them on the video board
so
that our recruits can say like, I'm going to be the next Trevor Lawrence and be an All-American at Clemson and then go on and play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then our fans and our donors also feel that when they're like, yes, like I remember that game and now I can't wait to see who the next Trevor Lawrence is going to be. So that's sort of how you design for multiple audiences. But Donna, I always go back to like, everyone's still Clemson. When you're with the Royals, I mean, yeah, you've got your corporate, you've got your groups, you've got your season ticket holders, but at the end of the day, everyone's a Royals fan.
Yeah.
Everyone wants it for Kansas City. So I think if you can always put it in that lens of everyone's Clemson, you'll be able to make it work.
Let's talk innovation versus tradition. Fans often say they want innovation, but they also want things to stay the same. How do you navigate that tension between preserving what fans love and evolving to meet the changing expectations out there?
Yeah, tradition is the foundation and innovation is the enhancement.
Yep.
No one's asking us to replace our traditions, nor do we want to. They define our brand. So it's our responsibility to make those traditions more impactful. And like I said, the best innovations amplify tradition rather than compete with it.
Yeah.
If we just would have gone and put 50 smoke mine towers on the field, that wouldn't have worked.
No.
But when you put 4 or 2, when you change the colors, that works.
Yeah.
And data matters. Fan feedback matters, observation, but the experience matters too. And so I try to make decisions where they all 4 can align. So like kind of instinct as well. And when you do that, you're usually headed in the right direction.
Is there one area that you put more weight to your decision-making, meaning to the data, the observations, the feedback, or the instinct?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to a lot of our videos. Our fans love our introduction video, our stadium video, and our third and fourth quarter video. It's long been a tradition that our just recently retired head strength and conditioning coach basically narrates a story about how you win championships.
Nice.
And that smooth hands don't win championships. They don't put rings on smooth hands.
No.
And our fans now, it's a call and response. I mean, they are narrating the video back to them. And so how do we make that video better as well? Because if our fans know it, but then we can put those surprise and delight moments of innovation of, hey, is there any pyro we can put on the field? Is there an additional sequence that we can do off of the roof? How are we manipulating and programming our LED lights? Are we adding moving heads? Are we sequencing our quads from a light show as well? And I think that's how you get into that balance.
Okay. Let's talk about the strategic value of event presentation. As college athletics continues to evolve, how do you see event presentation contributing to the broader goals such as revenue generation, recruiting, donor engagement, sponsorship value, and overall brand perception?
Yeah, I'm lucky where I've been over both roles and know the importance of revenue generation.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a vacuum or now in the current landscape of college athletics. So I recognize most people look at it as just a loss leader, but I look at it as it's become one of the most important strategic tools that we have. It impacts ticket sales because people return to experiences they enjoy. It impacts recruiting. Prospects are evaluating our atmosphere.
Yep.
Donors want to invest in successful programs. Sponsorship wants brands that are associated with memorable experiences. And so our event, our game, it shapes those perceptions. It influences how people feel about our institution, our athletic program, our brand, and everything. So that's the strategic value of event presentation. Ticket sales and experiences, it drives revenue. From that standpoint, our sales team is better equipped with our brand and with our analytics. And our football team in that aspect, or all of our 21 teams, their recruits are enjoying it. So they're getting the players that they believe is going to make an impact and continue the tradition of winning championships that we have at Clemson. You know, we call ACC another Clemson championship for our conference. There's the strategic value of event presentation, is that we're able to feed into all of these revenue generation pods now and help them.
Oh, yeah. A quick story that illustrates the value of event presentation. And you mentioned recruit. College athletics is an extremely competitive atmosphere when you talk about trying to recruit. And one particular school in Texas brought me in, not that they weren't selling out, but they weren't creating the atmosphere. And when you talk about bringing a recruit into an arena and they're competing in the same conference as a Kansas, the Jayhawks, and their type of atmosphere, and you have one that is stagnant, the likelihood of getting that recruit to want to play there diminishes. So the importance of creating that atmosphere that entices the recruits to want to play there, it just is so important. So hearing you talk about the strategic value, fantastic. Love that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you've done some work with Kansas, and I'll give them kudos as well. A very tradition-rich program when you get into the field house and James Naismith Court, but what they've done with Rock Chalk Jayhawk and their introduction of how they've amplified their experience and made it unbelievably immersive. It's key and it's critical.
Absolutely. Let's move on to another question. If you were consulting now, Don, with a mid-major athletic department tomorrow whose event presentation was struggling across the board, and you could only recommend 3 changes, what would those 3 recommendations be?
Yeah. The first thing I do a music audit. Is your playlist up to date?
Yeah.
There's free programs out there, so you don't have to have show flow when it comes to scripting software or a 7-point audio or even hiring a DJ. But do a music audit and look at where you are, because that can feed all sorts of emotion. Look at your team entrance, and you don't have to have all the bells and whistles and the special effects, but that is such a important part. We talked about how it's the crescendo of what the student athlete, mom and dad, fans, students, of what they've gotten to and what they're coming to in that game and getting ready to experience. So that, and then look at your last 2 timeouts. Football, it's the 4th quarter. If it's a basketball game, if it's men's, it's the 8 and the 4. If it's a women's game, the 4th quarter. If it's baseball, those last 2 innings, or any diamond sport, those last 2 innings, 6, 7, or 8, 9. Try to get those as clear as possible so that no matter what direction the game's going, you can help impact it.
Love that. I heard people talk about music and team intro, of course, for the climactic moment, but great advice by looking at those last two timeouts and creating the type of energy or excitement that overall drives that experience, leaving it open and having that conversation, of course, internally with partnership and giving them the understanding why you need that time available in your inventory to play to the crowd. So I definitely think that's great advice. All right. So, Don, as you look ahead, what excites you most about the future of event presentation and the fan experience in collegiate athletics?
I feel like we're in the golden age. And I'm fortunate enough to be at the Power Four, where we have the resources, but the competition is massive. For us, we expect to be in the college football playoff.
Yep.
That's just who we are at Clemson. So I think administration and our fans and our student athletes and our coaches, they expect and they also deserve these unbelievable immersive environments. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, whether you're spending money to come to the game or everything a student athlete and a coach does Monday through Friday to get ready for the weekend. They deserve these just amazing immersive experiences. And so it's incumbent on us to create them. We're the memory makers.
Yep.
And with how technology has changed, both from special effects to second screen experiences, we're really able to create a personalized moment, as tough as it is, we talked about it, for 80,000 people at a football game, 10,000 at a basketball game, 6,000 at a baseball game, 4,000 at soccer for us. I think we're in the golden age right now. So it's an exciting time to be in the event presentation world.
Is there a particular form of technology that you're most excited about in terms of creating this experience?
Yeah, certainly, now that LED lighting has become widespread and DMX and programmable lighting.
Yep.
So we're able to create these amazing light shows, but then also what one of our great vendors, Q Audio, has been able to do is that everyone becomes an active participant in a light show with their phone instead of a passive participant.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, that goes back to you're creating something. Someone says like, hey, I was part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that they're never going to forget either. I really think it comes down, for me, I love the lighting. I think pyrotechnics, but they've always been around forever, but I think it's becoming more commonplace and more accepted to get a little bit more liberal with, hey, where can we put them on the field? What can they look like? What can they do? Are we doing different things between mines, comets, gerbs, the sequencing, all those special effects?
Yeah.
Those are really the two big things, the lighting technology and special effects.
Okay. So, Don, before we wrap up, let's finish with a few rapid fire questions. I'm looking for quick answers here. First thing that comes to your mind. How does that sound?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Here's your first question. What's the most common event presentation mistake you see athletic departments making today?
Not having a goal and not being aligned across all your departments.
Okay.
The fan experience, the entertainment team can't do it themselves. You need communications, you need broadcasting, you need content. So just not being aligned and not having that goal of what you want event presentation to be.
What one element of a game day experience is often overlooked but has a huge impact on atmosphere?
I think the entrance, and not what you're thinking about or probably our listeners are thinking about, not the team entrance. It's how the fan enters the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little less game presentation, but more fan experience. If you think about it, like the first time you go see the Eiffel Tower, like you see it from far away and it gets closer and closer and you're looking up and it's this amazing experience. And then you get in line and you get up there and it pays off and you've got that amazing view of Paris and of France up at the top. We do it like our fans are looking down at their phone. They don't know which gate to go into. Hopefully had a good parking experience, but maybe they didn't. They're cramped in line. They're hot. So I think we need to look at like, how do we make that fan entrance better? Because they've been waiting all week and then we've got them like looking down at their phones and trying to find out where they are. Whereas we want them looking up at the stadium.
Yeah.
Like there it is again, whether it's your first time or your 200th time. Like this is home and we want that anticipation that you're about to have to be at the highest level off the charts. And I just don't think we think about it. And I'm guilty of it as well.
I agree with you.
So I think that's something like we all overlook.
What's the hardest part of event presentation to get right consistently?
That's a really good question. I would say consistently is probably your sponsored elements. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people are going to say, all right, hey, at this point in the game, I know that it's going to be the so-and-so of the game sponsored by ABC Company. I never want our fans to be able to say that to one another. So we are always looking at, hey, you might have to do it for all 18 home men's basketball games, but I never want to see it just layered in at the 12-minute timeout of the first half. Move it around the game. And it's hard to do because, like I said, you want to really front load everything, but I always want our fans to be on their toes. I don't want them to be like, well, it's this timeout. We know what's happening. I always want them to go into being like, hey, I wonder what's going to happen in this timeout.
If you could spend one game day observing the event presentation for any college or professional team in the country, who would it be?
That's a great question. I've been very fortunate just in my career to make great relationships with who I think is really good. Being at Elon in North Carolina, the Carolina Hurricanes were right there. At Notre Dame, Michelle at the Chicago Bulls, I think does the job better than anybody. So I've been able to really be embedded with them. We've been fortunate here at Clemson to have 3 Savannah Banana events, 2 where they actually played Clemson baseball and once where we hosted them in our football stadium. So really to work with Jesse Cole and his team, Zach and Jesse H on the video board side. Concerts. I mean, Morgan Wallen is coming in 2 weeks, and the special effects that they're doing, it's got my mind racing on how we take and adapt it.
Sure.
So I've been fortunate in that. I think the one game that I haven't been able to get to, and we've spoken with them on a ACC conference call, and I know they win the NFL Voice of the Fan almost like every other year, but I'd really love to go see a game for the Minnesota Vikings.
Last question. Complete this sentence. Game event presentation is less about blank and more about blank.
Great event presentation is less about you and more about the fans.
Love that. Well, great. Wow. This has just been a great conversation, Don. Thanks for taking the time to share your insights and give our listeners a behind the scenes look at just how Clemson approaches event presentation and the fan experience. So, Don, thanks for joining me on The Rundown.
Don, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Rundown. Have a question or want to share your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. Just email therundown@gastantigroup.com. Also, be sure to subscribe, share the podcast, and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. On behalf of Don Costanti, thanks for listening. Until the next time, this is The Rundown Podcast.